I call the member for Fraser.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Every 6 months or so, I hold a conversation to talk about disadvantage in the Fraser electorate. On Tuesday, the 29th of May, I was pleased to welcome 10 representatives from local community sector groups up to Parliament House for an early breakfast conversation. I've called it a community summit, but it's really more like an informal conversation with the people I regard as my brains trust on poverty. The focus of this conversation was on intergenerational disadvantage, how to stop the cycle of poverty from replicating itself across generations. One of the attendees made the point that disadvantage itself is now more complex than in the past and is often interrelated with issues such as mental illness, poor health, substance abuse, domestic violence and addiction. One attendee told the story of a child whose parents were addicted to hard drugs, who was never given anything by his parents. All he had were the things he'd found or stolen. Others spoke about families who eat McDonald's every meal because it's simpler to get takeaway than prepare a meal. And attendees were concerned about the impact of imprisonment on the children of those who are behind bars. A central focus of many of the attendees was education. One community sector leader gave the example of students who say to her, "I'm the first in my family to finish year 10. My parents won't come to the graduation. Will you?" Encouraging more young Canberrans to finish school is vital in reducing disadvantage. That might involve intensive work with students, such as one-on-one reading support, even for high schoolers. Within schools, it's important to set high expectations for young people. Australian universities need to attract more students who are the first in their family to attain a degree. This requires working closely with students as early as Year 8 to encourage them to consider higher education. While there's many active parents involved in low SES school communities, it's generally the case that P&Cs tend to be more engaged in high-income schools. Attendees mentioned the importance of involving parents in lower SES schools and of encouraging high SES schools to form partnerships to help more disadvantaged members of the community. Mentoring programs also have promise. Attendees spoke about the FAXIA-funded supergrands who work with parents on developing skills around budgeting, preparing a nutritious meal, or developing regular bedtime routines. Another mentoring program, run by Uniting Care Kipax, connects youth in grades 10 to 12 with adult mentors who range in ages from 22 to 64. In the Alexander McConaughey Centre, there are several mentoring programs to help prisoners. The Australian Indigenous Mentoring Experience is another mentoring program for Indigenous high schoolers, which attendees commended. One attendee reminded us of the valuable role that grandparents can play in cases where the parents have complex needs. Another made the important observation that social capital matters. As US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton famously noted, it takes a village to raise a child. Sporting programs targeted at disadvantaged youth, such as the sailing program Buoyed Up, run in collaboration with Canberra Yacht Club, can help improve fitness and self-esteem. But attendees argued there aren't enough of these kinds of programs. My own observation with the federally funded Local Sporting Champions grant is that students from affluent backgrounds are often more likely to hear about the program than students from poor backgrounds. Attendees referred to a range of other programs they felt had been successful in breaking the intergenerational cycle of poverty. These included the HIPPY, a parenting and early childhood program targeting families with young children, programs in schools to encourage respectful relationships, anger management courses to help young people, classes run by Nutrition Australia to teach people to prepare meals that include more fruit and vegetables, and the JET program, which provides childcare at 10 cents an hour, and which several attendees argued should be available for a longer duration. We also briefly discussed the 2012 ACT Targeted Assistance Strategy, chaired by Gordon Ramsay, which looked at what the ACT government can do to better deal with hardcore disadvantage in our city. I thank the 10 attendees, Fiona McGregor, Carmel Franklin, Gordon Ramsay, Jenny Kitchen, John Goss, Simon Rosenberg, Camilla Rowland, Kiki Korpinen, Jess Orlich and Lynn Harwood. I also thank members of my staff, Claire Daly and Damien Hickman, for helping to organise the event. As one attendee put it, breaking the intergenerational cycle of disadvantage is about instilling a sense of hope. I thank the attendees for another valuable conversation about tackling poverty in Canberra.